Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain Free You. Today's topic is going to be soft in the edges. Perfection is not required. So, get to that in a minute. Hope everybody's doing great. Recorded 3 success stories today. What an awesome day. Some really cool people doing really amazing stuff, recovering from some pretty difficult stuff. So, keep your eyes open. Probably every other day for the next 4, 5, 6 days, you're going to start seeing success stories. So, awesome stuff. This stuff works, folks. So, smile. Relax. It'll be your turn. It'll be your turn soon. So, one of the topics sort of came out of the first success story that I was recording today. And we got talking about perfection is not required. And she was commenting on one of my videos that, where I kind of gave permission to just be a little bit better in certain things and not perfect. Okay? So soften the edges, if you will. Perfection is not required. So here's a couple examples. When I first started talking about freakouts and how they're not a good thing because they perpetuate the brain's perception of danger, I used to say on videos early on, stop freaking out. Stop freaking out. Whatever you do, stop freaking out. And I realized that was asking way too much of everybody. Because if you are in that state of freak out and panic, you're in the fight or flight, adrenaline, cortisol, your brain is trying to fix and solve problems and escape this dangerous situation. And so to tell somebody, stop freaking out, it's not possible. So what I've started to do is to lean into perfection's not required. Freak out less. And so that became more accessible. Then I had a success story with this gentleman named Danny. And he used the word, I became more and more unbothered by the symptoms. And I loved that word because I used to talk about indifference and become indifferent to your symptoms. Indifference. It's like, so what? Who cares if I have symptoms? And a lot of people are like, you're crazy, Dan. That's not possible. Indifferent? Are you nuts? But the concept of being less bothered, I think, is accessible. It's believable. And when you say to yourself, all right, my goal for today is to be less bothered by the symptoms, your brain can go, we can do that. But if I said, be completely unbothered by the symptoms, be indifferent, meaning don't care at all about the symptoms, your brain's going to go, no way, not possible. Boom, barrier. We've just created a brick wall between us and recovery because the brain says that's not possible. So we're not going to get better. So I like being less bothered, a little bit more towards indifferent, care a little bit less, right? Freak out less, panic less. Do you see how the less and moving a little bit more makes it accessible and believable so that when you're asking your brain to do this, it says, yeah, we can do that. That's attainable. And therefore, it builds confidence, it builds momentum, it builds trust in our own statements. Because if you woke up and said, I expect to be pain-free in the morning, your brain's going to go, excuse the language, folks, close your ears if you don't want to hear it. Your brain's going to go, bullshit. We've had pain every day for the past 6 years. You're telling me we're going to be pain-free? So expecting the best, pain-free, the brain's going to call bullshit. It's not going to believe it. And then you're not going to continue to expect the best because it's not sustainable because you don't even believe it yourself. So I started, in a recent video, I started talking about expect better. Expect to do a little bit better than you were yesterday because when you combine freaking out less, calmly reassuring more, being a little bit more calm, a little bit less bothered, moving towards indifference, panicking less, these gradual opportunities, all of them being attainable and achievable, your brain's going to start going, yeah, I think we can do better. I mean, symptom-wise, we can feel better because we're having all of these various concepts combining and compounding each other. So research less. Ideally, I don't want you to research anymore, but in the beginning, that's natural. And as we are in that fight or flight, our brain is in that anxiety state where we are saying, we got to figure this out, and research is a natural outcome of that. But at a certain point in time, I'm going to really strongly encourage you to put away the keyboard, put away the phone, and say, all right, I've done the research. And unfortunately, and what my success story that I recorded today will tell you is that the research rabbit holes that he dug into absolutely terrified him and made him worse and worse and nearly disabled because he researched more and more. No fault of his own. It's where he ended up. And rule out the life-threatening stuff. Rule in the mind-body reason for the symptom. And that's when I say research less, or ideally not at all. Right? That one, we may want to get to the point where we do a lot less of it. Because if you spend days and days on the internet looking for symptoms and resolutions, you're going to find a lot of unhappy people struggling, and a lot of statements like, yeah, this is permanent, right? You don't want to dig into those rabbit holes because it can massively influence your what? Your brain's perception of danger. And if you are hearing countless stories of people struggling and not getting better, what's happening to your fear and your perception of danger? It's through the roof. And in many cases, that's why so many people's symptoms start to get bigger and stronger and more intense and more disabling, and it goes on and on. So another thing to do is avoid less. Avoidance is a natural response. When we hurt by doing such and such a thing, our natural inclination, and the wise thing to do would be like, I better avoid that. I don't want to hurt myself. And even if you understand that the brain is creating the symptoms based on the perception of danger, we still don't like the pain. Even though we may have actually accepted that I can't harm myself. I am not going to damage my body if I do something that causes pain, but I still don't want to do it. So avoid less. Be more calm. Expect better. We're talking about gradual and incremental progress here. Progress in mindset changes. So ideally, I'd love to say, have a perfect mindset. It's not doable. There is no such thing. But work to improve your mindset. Get your mindset a little bit better. A little less concern. Care less. Freak out less. Panic less. Be less bothered. Respond better. Respond more calmly. Not respond calmly. Respond more calmly. You see where I'm going with this? And it makes the things that we're trying to achieve believable, accessible. Be less frustrated. Be less angry about the symptoms. Be more patient. Because when we start saying hard rules like absolutes, don't freak out, don't panic, don't be bothered at all, respond perfectly, don't research at all, don't doubt at all, expect the best, be calm completely, your brain's going to go, you're insane. I can't do that. I'm still in a panic. And you want me to be perfect? So look, let's soften the edges of this recovery process because perfection does not exist. And by expecting ourselves to be perfect and even using language and encouraging ourselves with language that says you need to be perfect by don't freak out, be perfectly calm, doubt not at all. You hear how those hard lines and those hard rules make the whole process seem like this is never going to work? Because if I got to be perfect, I'll never get there. So soften the edges. This also turns into self-compassion, self-kindness, and just trusting that these incremental, gradual progress in all these various concepts will get you there. We don't need perfection overnight. Not at all. And one of my group members posted in the chat during the group session, she said, perfection often gets in the way of progress. She's absolutely right. Thank you, Becca. I appreciate you sharing that. Perfection often gets in the way of progress. Don't strive for perfection and then quit because you can't be perfect. That would be like anything. If you want to learn to play the piano, the guitar, drums, learn a language, whatever it may be, play sports. If you demand perfection anytime you do those things, you're never going to get better. Practice as well as you can. Compassion. I'm not going to be perfect for a while, if ever, but perfection is not required. Gradual improvements in all these various areas is going to help you dramatically, because if you set a hard rule for yourself and demand perfection, you're never going to get off the starting block because you can't perceive that that's even possible. And you're going to judge that you're never going to get better and you're not going to do the things that can get you better. So be nice to yourself. Trust yourself. Work on little baby steps each day, because baby steps eventually get that little kid running till you can't keep up with them. And that's what will happen with you. As you take these baby steps and these various concepts, you're conveying safety. A little bit at a time, but it adds up and it compounds, and you build momentum, you build trust, you just build evidence that you're moving in the right direction. You're starting to see some progress. Your mindset will improve before your symptoms do. And that's what should happen, because the brain, the mind, is what is creating the symptoms. So expect that. So I hope this makes sense. Soften the edges of your requirements of yourself going through this recovery process. This is not perfect. As a matter of fact, it's quite messy. Same thing with emotions. Do not require feeling my emotions perfectly. Am I doing it right? Am I supposed to feel them and then what? Like, there is no perfection. You know? Same thing with anxiety, mental health stuff. Don't demand perfection of yourself. Be a little bit less anxious tomorrow. Be a little bit less bothered by the anxiety. Fix less. Live more. Engage more. Avoid less. Fight with symptoms and anxiety less. You see how this works? Give yourself that wiggle room of not being perfect, because you can't be. Sorry, no offense to the perfectionists in the crowd. You can't be. So start playing around with these kind of less or more concepts in your journey. And what you're going to find is it gives you the grace and the permission to not be perfect. Let yourself off the hook. And all of a sudden, these concepts become attainable and believable. Because with the hard lines and the hard rules, your brain's going to go, we don't have a shot. We can't do this. More, less, the brain's going to go, yeah, I think we can do that. So I hope this makes sense. A little bit longer of a video, but I think it's super, super important to get this right. Not perfect, to get these concepts moving. So, love you folks. As always, we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.